Guys, I'm not even going to screw around here, okay? Please go see this movie. Okay, I'm not even going to like build up some sort of suspense in this review, like, oh, did I like it? Did I not like it? Should you see it? I'm just telling you right here, please, this weekend, if you saw the trailer for this movie and you thought it looked great, go see this movie, because it is great. Go watch the trailer if you haven't. If you don't even know what I'm talking about a little movie called Upgrade. Go check this movie out. Please just go to the theater and see it, because I have a feeling no one's going to see this movie. My theater, for some reason, actually had people in it, but I have a feeling, because there wasn't that much marketing for this movie, not many people were talking about it, I have a feeling this is going to be like a Hardcore Henry, where it comes out, doesn't make any money, and is completely forgotten about, especially when the next whatever Marvel movie comes out, which, don't get me wrong, I love Marvel movies, but come on. We need stuff like this, original stuff like this. Please go check it out. Please support it. If you have Movie Pass, you have no excuse. Just go to the theater and check it out if it's at your theater. If it's not, then that sucks. I feel for you, because this movie is totally worth seeing. It has everything I love. Great action, tons and tons of blood and gore, an emotional story with a great lead performance from Tom Hardy. No, I'm just kidding. He ain't Tom Hardy. But everybody keeps saying he looks like Tom Hardy, which I get it. He looks like Tom Hardy. But Logan Marshall Green, great actor. He's been around for a little while. So, Devil. Remember that movie Devil? He was in that. Prometheus. Spider-Man Homecoming from last year. He was great in all these roles, even if they're small roles. The Invitation. Please go see The Invitation. It's so good. When I say go see it, I mean just like flip on Netflix and it's on there. Just go watch it. But this movie is excellent. I just want to tell you that right now, because I'm sure this review is going to be spoiler heavy. I'm going to get into why I love this movie so much and why I think you need to go see it, because this will be a movie that, if it does well, we could see more stuff like this. We could see low-budget sci-fi thriller action movies that actually have emotion to it, that go to theaters in a somewhat sort of wide release. Because this is actually a wide release from what I've heard. Over 1,000 theaters. That's considered wide release. So I want to see more movies like this. I don't want to see movies like this that just get thrown on Netflix or thrown straight to DVD. I want to see stuff like this with some money put into it, with some talent, with a vision, get put in theaters. So please go see it. It's so good. All right? So please go if you want to see this movie and you don't want to get spoiled. I told you right here, it's a great film. Logan Marshall Green killed it. All the action's great. It is very violent, but it's a very emotional story too. And it doesn't waste your time. It's 90 minutes long. And it has a great ending. There you go. Go see it. Now. Now. All right? All right, now let's get into the actual review, which is going to be most likely spoiler heavy. So I'm just going to tell you right here, please leave now. If you want to know what my review is, like my score, 38 out of 40. That's a 9.5 out of 10. Go check it out. Please. Please, I loved it. I really did. I loved this movie so much. Alright, so now we can talk about the movie more in depth. Okay, this movie, Upgrade, is exactly what I wanted, okay? You get a story that is very well told, very well paced, has a great lead character, Gray Trace, that's his name, who goes through the ringer, that's for sure, and you do feel for him, especially in the first like 20-30 minutes of this movie, where it actually is like slow paced, but in a good way, where we get to know the character, we get to see his relationship with his wife, we get to tell that he truly does love her and stuff, and they have a great relationship. There's actually some chemistry there. And then of course, like the trailer would show you, his wife gets killed and he gets crippled. They cripple him by shooting him in the neck and severing his spine, so he can't even move anything from the neck down. So his life is completely ruined in the span of like a few minutes, and you could feel the devastation. There's times where he just like is just giving a blank stare, and there's just times where he just thinks about it, and you could tell it's destroying him, and he starts crying. And Logan Marshall Green gives probably my favorite performances this year so far. Again, it's just halfway through the year, so that's not saying it's going to be the best performance this year, but he gives a great performance, because not only is it emotional and devastating at times, but he can do a great job with like some of the physical stuff, either action or comedy. Sometimes both at the same time. If you see the trailer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When he starts smashing dishes on that one dude's face, and you can tell his face is like, "What the fuck? I don't want to do this." And he's like taking the knife and like almost cutting his head off from the cheeks, like he did a Joker to him. Like, there's just moments like that where I know a lot of people are saying this, but it definitely reminded me a lot of like a Bruce Campbell style physical comedy, like in an Evil Dead 2, mainly Evil Dead 2, especially when he has to cut off his own arm, and that is great. But like it's so great whenever he's doing that stuff. But when it drops down again, and he has to be emotional again. It's great. He does a great job, and he's a great character. He's a great actor. Can I say the word great anymore? Yes. This movie's great. And there you go. I said it again. But no, he is the reason why this movie really works so well and why I loved it so much. He's so good in this movie. My favorite performance of this year so far. I can't even think of another one that I would say is better. I don't know. Maybe Josh Brolin as Thanos. Again, I haven't seen some of the more like limited released movies yet because a lot of my theaters don't show those. Like this, I'm surprised my theater got this, even though this is in like 1,400 theaters. I'm still surprised this came to my theater. So I haven't seen stuff like You Were Never Really Here or Lean on Pete. Some of these other movies that are like lesser, you know, in the not lesser theaters. I make that sound like it's bad, but you know, like in less theaters is what I meant to say. So I haven't seen that stuff. So I don't have a big, like a broad perspective on the movies of this year yet. Usually I catch up on those later in the year when they're on DVD and stuff. So again, just keep that in mind. It's still a great performance though. You know, there you go. So he really makes this movie in my opinion. But not only that, I mean, there's a lot of great stuff. The direction is great. Lee Wynell does a great job. The writing itself is maybe the weakest part, but that's not saying it's bad at all. It really isn't at all. I think it's actually pretty good, but it's not like, it's not going to blow you out of the way. Like, there's no great scenes of people just having a conversation and it's like really well done, or you know, it's not There Will Be Blood or some shit. Which, by the way, there will be blood in this fucking movie. There's a lot of it. Maybe not as much as some people are expecting. What you see in the trailer, you get that and a little bit more. Which is perfect because in the trailer they show you a lot, and there's some really fucked up scenes in this movie that's just like, whew. Oh man, you feel it. You definitely do. And there's times where you don't even see it, but you hear it, and you hear someone screaming in the background, and you're like, oh my god. And even some of the less violent stuff that is not played as like a ooh moment. It's supposed to be played like a oh no moment, like when his wife gets killed. It's just like gruesome. It's gruesome in a way that is very effective. So anyway, the action is very kinetic, very well shot. It's great. It really is. The camera movements reminded me so much of Kingsman, the first Kingsman at least. Yeah, and the second one too. The way like Matthew Vaughn shoots action kind of reminded me of that. It's very kinetic, it's moving all over the place, but it's never confusing, I don't believe. There is times where it gets a little bit too dark, and I don't mean the tone. It does get dark in the tone, but it's perfectly fine. But there's times where it actually is a little too dark, and I couldn't see things. Just times, very small amount of times where the action is a little too dark, and I wish they lightened it up a little bit. And I could say that about a lot of this movie, actually. A lot of the times where like characters are just hanging out in their house or just like talking to somebody, it's very darkly lit, and I don't know exactly why that is. There's times where it's not even supposed to be like a dramatic moment. It's like in the beginning of the movie where like you're supposed to like, oh, they're a happy couple or whatever, and it's like dark and like there's no lights on and stuff. I'm like, okay. Besides that, like even the cinematography is damn good. You know, even though it's a little too darkly lit at times, like even some of the shots of like the city, which by the way, this takes place like 20 years in the future, and it does a really good job of making it still look like our world, just, you know, with a little bit more advanced technology like drones and stuff. And we have drones now, but like these drones are a little bit more advanced. They definitely had a small budget, you could tell that, but they effectively used it because it does build a world that is realistic enough for a movie like this. So there you go. So there you go. The action, all that stuff is great. There's not a ton of it, but when it gets to the point where he gets that thing implanted into his neck and it starts talking to him, all that stuff after that is really either really fun or really violent or kind of funny. There's still some dramatic moments, but everything before that is very like dramatic and very emotional. And you're like, oh no, I feel bad for this guy. When he gets STEM, that's where it becomes like more of an entertaining, not blockbuster or anything like that. Again, it's not, but it's more of an action movie, and it's more, you know, there for kind of some of the laughs and stuff, and it does break it down a little bit to have some emotion, and I appreciate that. It never loses its way. Like, it's not just straight up a goofy, like, physical comedy where he's like slipping around and stuff, and he's like watching Stem control his body and telling him to murder people or making him murder people and stuff. It's never like that. Like, it never gets too far that way where it loses the character that we knew from the first 30 minutes. Hopefully that makes sense. Like I said, the movie is extremely violent, but it's not excessive. Like, when you see that one dude get turned into a Pez dispenser, you see it for as much as you see it in the trailer. And there's even times where they have, like, autopsies and stuff, and you could see, like, things. Like, yeah, of course, when you see an autopsy, you see, like, just everything. And it's violent, but it's not excessive. It's there for a reason. To show, like, some characters or some people in this world will literally surgically implant guns inside their arms. So they're like opening up an arm to show, like, this guy had an actual gun with a barrel and everything. And sure, that's kind of silly, but it actually makes sense in a way where, like, criminals would actually like to have a concealed gun in their arm. Like, it doesn't make too much sense. If you're trying to overthink this movie, you're gonna have a bad time, I guess, I would say. And we're like, why do they have that? Why is the guy that can sneeze, he could sneeze and kill people? There's literally a scene like that in this movie, by the way, which is probably my least favorite scene in the movie, and it's really not a spoiler. He kills, like, a minor character that doesn't matter, but it's a very silly scene. We'll get to it in a second. That's probably my only major complaint, is that one scene. I guess we don't really need to get into it. I already explained it. When you see it, you know what I'm talking about. That just one scene is a little too over the top. But I liked all the stuff with this. Like, they surgically put, like, wires inside their bodies so they can hack things with their not hack things, but they can, like, see through walls and stuff. And it's not corny. It's like he puts, like, things in his eyes so it turns it all into, like, heat vision and stuff like that. So it's not really corny, and it's not overused too. It's just little things to build up the world and some of the villains, which I really liked. And I appreciated the whole gun hand thing, because it wasn't really, like, in the trailer it made it seem like that was a big thing, but no, it's just, you know, a thing that's in the world. You know, they have guns in their hands, and it makes sense for criminals to have, like, a concealed gun in a way. And it wasn't like a common thing in this world. Like, it was just a thing that was kind of new to have a gun in their hand, so it wasn't like something that was common you could just get anywhere, like, oh, but surgically implant a gun in your hand or something. It was like an underground thing. So it was still really cool to see this kind of stuff in this kind of world. The story is very simple, but it's extremely well told. Like I said, like, the characterization of Gray is great. No pun intended. But he does a great job with the performance, that, like, you can feel the emotion of this character without him saying anything. Like I said, there's shots where he's just, like, staring off, and you could tell he's contemplating what he's going to do with the rest of his life now after what happened. And it's very emotional. The movie does a great job. Like, I was expecting this movie to be kind of like Hardcore Henry in a way, where it's like, oh, it's all silly and goofy and over the top, and there is some over the top stuff, like I said, but Hardcore Henry never had the emotional value of, like, something like this. This movie definitely is a better movie than Hardcore Henry, which that hurts to say, because I love Hardcore Henry, and I still think about that movie to this day. So everybody that was saying, like, this movie's gonna be like a forgettable action movie in the future, no, I'm still thinking about Hardcore Henry. What, like two years after it came out? So come at me, bro. I love that movie. But yeah, so it's all great, and his performance is great. The side characters are all great too. His wife is played well. There's a cop named Cortez, played by Betsy Betsy what? What's her name? The woman from Get Out, the one that goes, no. Her name is, like, Betsy something. I think, I can't exactly remember. Betty Gabriel. Did I say Betsy Russell? Yeah, Betsy Russell. She played a character. Betty Gabriel. And she's really good too, even though her character kind of gets lost in the shuffle at times. But when she shows up again, her character makes sense for her to be there. She's the cop that kind of, like, investigating all this stuff, and she soon finds out that even though he might be a quadriplegic, he might actually have something to do with some of the murders that are going on. And I thought she was really good in the role. Even some of the other side actors, like There's a guy that plays Aaron. I forgot the actor's name. Aaron is this guy that actually made STEM. He's like a multi-million dollar, like Leonardo DiCaprio looking kid. And at first his performance was like very robotic, but actually makes sense later on. That's not a spoiler at all. His performance is very like, not robotic, but you can tell like he doesn't have much contact with people, so he's very unemotional, and it makes sense later on why he's like that. And also the guy, whoever voiced STEM, because the thing in his the thing in his neck actually does talk to him, does a really good job. He does a great job actually, and there's times where even STEM and Trace's character, Gray Trace, that's his name. I don't like the name, to be fair. Gray actually have a little bit of chemistry. You can tell like they're like it just works. It really does, and it actually adds some to some of the character and some of the comedy of the movie. So yeah, I mean, I dig the hell out of this movie. I mean, that's no surprise really right now. Like if I have any negative, like I said, there's one scene where a guy sneezes and his sneeze has like his mucus has like robotic things that can kill people and stuff. Like, it's a little silly, especially if he was sick, he'd be killing people nonstop, which I guess he wouldn't really give a shit. But, because he's one of the villains. And, do I have any other problems? I really don't have it. I think that's the only one, besides maybe it's too dark at times. Like, literally, it's too dark. Those are my two major complaints, you know? Maybe I've seen some people say, like, this movie's not as smart as it thinks it is. So I guess I could see, like, that being a criticism, like a fair one. But really, I don't think the movie thought it was really that smart. Like, it doesn't over-explain things. It's just a nice, emotional movie with some great acting, some great action, some really funny moments, very sharp humor, very witty at times. When I say witty, I'm not talking about, like, I shouldn't say witty. That's not the right word. Very physical comedy, I guess. Just not witty. Witty was a word that I didn't even want to say. I don't know why I said it. See, sometimes you just blurt out words. You don't even know why you did. It's not witty. It's just very physical, and it's really well done. Everything that it tries to do, it gets extremely well. And I don't feel like it was trying to be too smart. Like, it doesn't over-explain stuff. It really doesn't. It builds up a world. So maybe some people thought them building the world was them trying to be smart or something. But you know what? I'd rather have a world like this in a movie than a world like the one in Bright, where it's just like, look at all this cool shit. Look, oh, there's a dragon over there. That's weird. Or here, where it feels like it's just our world, except 20 years from now with some slight enhancements in technology. I just thought it was a much better representation of the future, where Bright was just a representation of what a fucking stupid fantasy world would look like if there was orcs that were cops. Like, ooh, racism, it's a metaphor for racism. I don't even know why I'm comparing this to Bright. It has nothing to do, besides that it has like a one-word title. That's like literally the only similarity. Shit, this movie actually made it to theaters, so there you go. One last thing I want to talk about is the ending of this movie. Now, again, I'm not going to spoil it. I just want to say right here, movies like this, and not even movies like this, just movies in general, don't have endings like this. And there's a couple. Of course, there was one big one that had, an ending similar to this previously. But most movies have endings that are, like, they wrap it up. Or they wrap it up completely, like, in a nice little bow, or they just have, like, generic endings. And this one has an ending that is effective, very well done, and it actually gives you little hints of where it's going throughout the entire movie. So I actually I highly recommend you just kind of, like, the little things in this movie that seem like they're kind of, just like they're just there to have a moment. They actually do effectively hint and foreshadow at the ending of this movie. So I really like that. So maybe that's also why some people were like, oh, this movie thinks it's smarter than it is. Maybe that's why some people thought that too, but I don't know. Because it was like hinting towards the ending. But yeah, there you go. That's my review. Again, I gave it a 38 out of 40, which is a 9.5 out of 10. I loved it. I really did. I thought it was a great little movie, 90 minutes long, doesn't waste your time. It's probably my favorite movie of the year so far. Yeah, I think it definitely is, actually. So anyway, before I go, I do want to do a quick spoiler discussion, straight up spoilers, for the ending of this movie. So if you want, go away. I mean, I already told you to go away before because I thought I was going to do a little spoiler thing here and there, but I feel like I didn't spoil too much throughout the review. So if you want to go away, If you haven't seen the movie, then please. If you've seen the movie so far, then stay, because I'm going to spoil some stuff. And I could talk to you, even though you can't talk to me back, but whatever. Alright, so, spoilers from here on out. Okay, so the whole movie, of course, or at least most of it, is all about him trying to get revenge. And he does get revenge. He kills the 4 dudes that actually were there and murdered his wife. And he soon finds out, like, he thinks in the movie that the whole thing was like a job. Like, those 4 guys showed up, killed his wife because they had to kill the wife, and they just, you know, took him out because he was there. So they kill the wife, and he thinks, all right, the wife was obviously a part of some company, like I said, with prosthesis and stuff like that. So, okay. They wanted to kill her for whatever reason, whatever job. But then you find out, no, it was actually him. He was the one who was supposed to not get killed, but he was the one who was supposed to get paralyzed to begin with. The wife was just there to die. And it was him that was actually the job. He was supposed to get paralyzed so the Aaron kid, the one that looks like Leonardo DiCaprio, could take the stem, the little artificial chip, and put it in him as the perfect test subject. The reason why he picked him is because you find out that Stem is actually the kind of like the instigator of all of this. He's the reason why Gray's wife gets killed and he becomes paraplegic, because Stem is this artificial intelligence that Aaron made and wants to actually become human, kind of like that game Detroit Become Human a little bit. No, I haven't even played it yet, so I can't even say that's true or not. But and he wants to be put into a human and actually effectively break the mind of the person that he's in so he can become that person. So at the end of the movie, Stem's all about like trying to break this guy by like murdering people that killed his wife. And then at the end of the movie, he reveals that I was the one who did it. I was the one who had your wife killed and stuff like that. So Gray's mind is just breaking. He's trying to fight back against Stem because Stem's about to kill Cortez. I think her name is Cortez. Is her name Cortez? I don't even remember. But I hope it is, because then I sound foolish. But I think the character's name is Cortez. And he's about to kill Cortez, and he already kills the Leonardo DiCaprio kid. Because Stem wants to kill his creator, so his creator doesn't create other Stems like him. He wants to be the only one. So he kills the creator, and he's about to kill Cortez, but it looks like Gray's actually going to fight back, and he's like fighting back. He's like struggling to fight back against his own body. And then there's a part where it looks like he's about to shoot himself in the head, and you think, okay, it looks like he's about to, and it cuts away to like a white flash. And throughout the movie, you've been seeing these little like dream sequences where he sees his wife just sitting there at a hospital bed, and he's in the hospital, and he sees his wife, and they're having like a little moment here and there. And at the end, you find out that those were actually just little slips that he's been taking to kind of like insanity in a way, or like in his own little world. He's been going to his own little world for a little while, just randomly. And that's what Stem wants to do, because he wants him to just like, you know, his consciousness, he wants it to just slip back into the way back of his brain, kind of like split a little bit, where the main guy that was the original personality of what's Split's character's name? I forgot. James McAvoy's character. He got thrown way back in there. It's kind of like what that movie was kind of, where Stem wants him to go all the way back there so he can take control of Gray's body. And that's what happens. The movie, at first I thought he actually did shoot himself and this was like a vision of heaven or something. I was like, oh, please don't be like that. Then you find out, no. He kills Cortez, bam, just shoots her straight up. And the movie ends with him, this scene right here actually shows this in the background. And he just like walks towards the camera, and that's it. There you go. Stem took over Gray's body, and Gray's in his fantasy world, in his consciousness, and that's it. And I thought that was a fantastic ending. I really thought it was great. It could have ended the way I thought it would have, where he shot himself or something and effectively killed Stem, but killed himself, and now he's with his wife in, you know, heaven or whatever. But what I really liked is that it didn't do that. He was about to, but he didn't. He lost his the control of his body, and I really like that it actually ended that way. And it also builds up to maybe a sequel, which I doubt we'll get a sequel, but it actually effectively ends the story there. That could be it. That's just Stem finally took over and became a human. Now he's going to go around and maybe create other people like him. So there you go. Just wrapped it up, and I thought it was perfect. And the little references, the little like hints and foreshadows throughout the entire movie are little things like Gray sees people that are spending like their time or their life in VR pretty much. He sees like these people with the headsets on and they're in VR and they don't come out and stuff, and he's just like, that's not a life to live. You should live in the real world and stuff. So there's little hints towards like where it's gonna go, where he just like, you know, at the end just lives in his own fantasy like those guys were living in their own fantasy in the VR world. I thought it was like very effective. So anyway, there you go. I highly recommend it. Go check out Upgrade. It's a great film. So there you go. Thank you. Until next time, goodbye.